Welcome to She Rebel Radio, the podcast for high-performing women leaders who want to unlearn conventional rules, leave prestigious careers, and launch businesses of significance. Each week, She Rebel Radio brings you insights and advice from women entrepreneurs who transformed their prestige prisons into daring entrepreneurial success stories. Now, here is your host, Lulu Nins.
Welcome to episode 52 of She Rebel Radio, the consequences and solutions to treading water. Welcome, ladies. It is She Rebel Friday, our favourite day of the week, and we are back for a solo show, and not just a solo show, a 4-part solo show supporting you in emerging from lockdown and powering forward in only the way that you can do. And I'm really excited to share this 4-part series with you, and we are going to kick it off today with looking at where you are treading water, the consequences of treading water, and what you need to do about it and what you need to do about it quickly. And, you know, the worldwide pandemic that we have been facing around the world, can you believe that we are halfway through the year, is something, an outside situation to all of us, although we're all connected, and but an outside, external situation that has forced so many of us, if not all of us around the world, to take a step back, to tread water, to keep our head above water, to suspend the bigger decisions that it may be that we need to make in our businesses, in our prestigious careers, in our next steps. And now is the time, as we emerge from lockdown, that we need to look at treading water, where it is that you're treading water, and what is the consequences of that if you continue to do so, and what you need to start doing about it pretty quickly. And I noticed I was doing this on a personal level about 2 weeks ago. I was like, why am I still suspending this bigger decision about travel or moving house and what it is that I need to do now the external situation has changed to something beyond my control? And what that doesn't mean is that we can continue or get away with treading water. We still have to make decisions now, despite the outside circumstances being what they are. And this really reminds me of my last few years in the legal profession. For me, on a personal level, but also the firm on a wider level, and not just us, it was the other criminal defence firms all over the country, because here in the UK at that time, and I can't even remember, it was going on for a number of years, that the government were threatening to change our funding and our contracting, because as criminal defence we were funded and contracted by the government, and they were threatening to change the way that we were funded, which would mean that less firms had funding, and those firms needed to serve a bigger part of the work that was available. And the consequences of that, and I don't want to dive into more detail than that really, because it's probably super boring for you, but I want to explain that the repercussions of that meant that the firm could only just keep their head above water, that we needed to tread water and keep things almost as it was for a real extended period of time. And that was even as we came from a change of government to from Labour to the Tory government. They were both behind that movement of changing the contracting, and that led to the firm not only being forced to tread water, but also the solicitors within that firm, feeling unable to progress their careers and not knowing where we were going. And I remember one of the other lawyers saying to me, because the decision kept on getting put off, we just need a decision now. We can't, he was running his own firm, but he actually used to be a partner at ours. We can't continue to run a business like this, because they were all treading water, and we were, as the lawyers and heads of department, on a personal level. So where are you doing that right now? And what is treading water? So to look at I've thrown a few terms out to you today. It's that head above water. In a literal sense, when we're treading water, we're stationary in the water, not moving and not making any progress. You are waiting for that next wave to come, and you're doing scissor kicks under the water to keep your head above it. And so many of us, as I've said, have seen where we've had to do that somewhere. I pretty much guarantee every single person listening to this has found that they've had to tread water somewhere in the worldwide pandemic when the external situation is what it is. But the consequences of that, as I promised to share with you today, is imagining on a physical level, when you're treading water, as I said, your body is upright and you're doing scissor kicks in the water. It's great exercise for a short period of time, depending on how fit you are, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. And I was doing some research whilst preparing this episode for you. And apparently we can survive for around 2 or 3 hours in the water, treading water. Unless you're like a super fit athlete, you can survive for 10 hours. So let's, propel that to 2 or 3 months, okay, which is what we've been experiencing in the pandemic, that when you're treading water, those scissor kicks leads to exhaustion, burnout, and being so tired that you eventually go under the water. That is, and you drown. That is in a literal sense. For the 2 or 3 hours, or the 10 hours if you're a super fit athlete and rehearsed in that treading water. And what we are seeing now is we're coming out of this 2 or 3 months. For you, it could even be that you've been treading water for 2 or 3 years. It is possible to do that. We were doing that as a legal business. I was doing that on a personal level in my professional career at the firm. But what happened was, not only was I suffering from extreme burnout and exhaustion by the time that I left and waited for a wave to come that wasn't acceptable to me, but also 2 years after that, the firm that I work for went under and they no longer exist. And not only them, the firm that took over them also went under, and so many others. And the reason for that is they were forced to tread water for too long, and you get exhausted and you burn out. And there is a great time often to tread water, with, as I've said, the pandemic has forced many of us to suspend bigger decisions, to just keep head above water, etc. But now is the time. If you continue to tread water, you will become exhausted, you will burn out, and eventually, metaphorically speaking, you will drown. Another alternative is that you can wait for the rescue, but I know all the She Rebel Radio listeners are not princesses, Princess Rapunzel in a castle waiting for your prince to come. That is not the type of person you are. The type of person you are is to take control and make some decisions and some tough choices. That is even if the circumstances for you are still out of your control. You can't continue to tread water anymore. You need to make some decisions and choices, and I'm going to give some solutions to you and map those out for you. And grab your journal. As I said, firstly write down, where am I treading water? What is that looking like for me right now? That's the first step. And then please write down what are the consequences of doing that? What's going to happen if you continue where you're at? And then we're going to move on to these solutions, and write down, what's going to happen if I undertake the 4 solutions that we're going to go through right now. So, and that is as long as you accept my consequences of treading water. And if you leave this episode with nothing else but this, you can only tread water for so long. That is an absolute fact of life, that you can only tread water for so long, even if you're the fittest athlete that there is. And that is on a personal level, on a business level, that you can only do that. So solution number 1 of you taking control and making some tough choices here is to get out of the water. So number 1 is you get out of the water, you sit on the beach and you watch what unfolds on the sidelines. You no longer take part in what the circumstances that are forcing you, or maybe where, it may not be the external circumstances are forcing you. It's just that you are, continuing to be stuck and stagnant and stationary is to stop doing what you're doing and put it all down and get out of the water and go and sit on the beach and chill out. Chill out and watch. That is what I did with the legal profession. I got out. I thought I would actually freelance for a while, and I didn't, because I was actually forced to stop. I was contractually unable to work for 10 weeks, which we've seen many people go through that experience on furlough. And I was forced to get out the water. And that was great. I really wanted to get out of the water. But what that did was really allow me to reconsider my position and reconsider, even though I had already, started my first business, what it made me realize was actually how exhausted and burnt out that I was. And if I was going to continue to freelance whilst I built a business, I wasn't going to survive. I wasn't going to, and that's it. When we tread water for too long, you trigger your survival instinct and that need to survive, so you become exhausted on doing really, really basic things. And I realized that I couldn't do that alongside starting a business because I was really exhausted, and I needed to plug back in the self-care and the nurture and who I was and my identity and all of that. So I needed to stop in order to do that. And that was a really tough decision. And it was a really tough decision financially. I didn't have any financial backup, bar £5,000 in the bank. I know that's many of you will resonate with that. You might not even have that. But it was super, super important that I got out of the water and I stopped, because when you get out of the water, amazing, crazy, magic things happen. Things come in that you didn't expect because you've made the space for it. And there are so many clients of mine who, have come to me and they're trying this and they're trying that and they're treading water in this new thing that they're trying to get out there, or they're treading water in, the job that they're in. And when they get out or they stop what they're doing, i.e. within their business, and I'm like, just put it down. I don't care if it's just for a week. Just put it all down. Stop showing up on social media. Stop doing what you're doing. Amazing things happen. The client comes, the money comes, the clarity comes when you stop and get out the water. It can be really counterintuitive to many of you that are women in positions of prestige and achievement and all of that stuff, to stop and get out the water. But trust me, amazing things happen if you're brave enough to do it. And it takes courage. It takes huge courage to do that. So that is solution number one. Get out the water, sit on the beach and go and watch. And I really did watch what happened to all of those firms, or a lot of them that I knew and, had worked for as they were continuing to tread water. And I sat on the sideline and recuperated myself instead of suffering from more exhaustion and burnout. So by the time that happened, the crash happened for them, I was kind of rejuvenated. I was in my new business. I was, traveling to LA, having amazing trips and having my first client retreat in Morocco and all this amazing stuff, which I wouldn't have been there had I continued to tread water with everybody else. So that's the power of getting out the water. Take a deep breath. So what would happen, what's the best case scenario that could happen if you just got out of the water and stopped? You can explore the worst case scenario as well, but what would be the best case scenario? Before we dive into solution number two. Solution number two is to start the doggy paddle. Is to have some fun, invite a friend and start the doggy paddle. Leading into, doing some more swimming. And this really reminds me, it was before I was kind of officially treading water in the legal profession. I was on a trip with a very good friend of mine from university. We went away for a week to the Caribbean. We were in, I think we were really late 20s, maybe very early 30s. And we were used to going to, on more, we did a road trip around America and all of that. This was like a proper chill out trip because we were tired, working really hard for our careers in our 20s to prove our positions of prestige and all of that stuff. So we felt like we were in rehab in this amazing place in Caribbean. But yeah, we weren't used to not having that much to do, so that was quite difficult for us. And we were floating around in the sea on one particular day, and the waves were coming, and one of us, and I can't remember if it was Lucy or I, who were like, doggy paddle, doggy paddle, doggy paddle. And we just got fits of giggles and had loads of fun. And then every time a wave came, it was probably me actually, it's probably my sense of humour, but I always make her laugh, is to, start the doggy paddle and have some fun. And I wanted to throw that out as an option to you as well, because it's a big value of mine is to have more joy in the journey. So, despite the treading water, how can you have some more fun, learn to doggy paddle, invite a friend along with you, maybe join a community that can support you in maybe a slower progress. Really check in whether you've got the space for that. If you have, that is totally fine, as long as you're making some progress and a little bit of a doggy paddle, and surround yourself with like-minded women, etc., is really, really powerful. And I've got the She Rebel Radio members group for that, and we are starting an accountability circle on the 20th of July. So if you want more info about that, that is connected to the 3 Keys to Self-Actualization self-study course. But that accountability circle is really about the doggy paddle and having more fun on the journey, okay? And doing it with a community of like-minded women. And I think it's geese that it's been proven when they fly together, they go faster than when they do it on their own. So stop being out there and treading water on your own, and surround yourself with like-minded people and get on the doggy paddle and have a giggle while you're doing it. So that is solution number 2. What would that look like for you? Solution number 3. It's a bit darker, ladies, but it's totally necessary. And the next 2 solutions I'm going to share with you are ones where you really, really get the results. Well, you get the results with all of them, but these 2, I guess, well, they don't take more courage, but they take more commitment, perhaps. So solution number 3 is to dive under the water, is to dive in the murky water, into the darkness underneath, and discover what is there. What treasure is there for you? What parts of your past are keeping you stuck in terms of the behaviors that you're exhibiting, the solutions you're not seeing? How can you start to discover that? And that is shadow work, inner child work, and looking at how your past is dictating your future right now. And it's not always fun work to do, but when we find ourselves treading water and continuing to do that, and maybe going nearer the exhaustion, the burnout, the potential drowning, it is critical that you start looking beneath the surface as to what's going on. And it really is an invitation for you to do that, because we are all creating our own reality at any given time. So, and the sooner you accept that, the easier life becomes. And the more it becomes, and the more that is true for your business as well, the more it becomes your teacher. Why how have I found myself here? What's coming up for me? What do I need to shift? And really do the deep healing transformational work. And I would thoroughly recommend that you get support with that. That is absolutely something I can support you with, and I would love to speak to you if that resonates with you. And I'm actually going to put a link to a number of things in the show notes today, including booking a just quick 30 minutes connection call with me. You can explore around how you're treading water, what's coming up for you, and what the best solution is with me, and also the 3 Keys to Self-Actualization course, which is really a beginning of you starting to dive in the water and look at what's going on underneath the surface. And then we've got the accountability circle, which is attached to that, which is doggy paddling alongside that. So super, super powerful combination. So that is solution number 3. What would that look like if you really were brave enough to dive under the water and look at what's going on beneath the surface, and accepted that you were creating this reality that you're in right now, of continuing to tread water? That's with or without the pandemic, right? Okay. So that is solution number 3. Solution number 4 is to jump on top of the water and learn to surf. And in order to do that, anyone who learns to surf has a coach, has a mentor, has support, and you get there far, far quicker. And someone asked me recently, and it's not the first time, what would be the benefit of having a coach? Why would I do that? And it's because you can get there so much quicker and see things in a different way, change your perspective, have those insights, and everything changes. And you think of those people learning to surf, those people, the best footballers in the world, etc., they have coaches, and if you're, wanting to fully self-actualize your potential and your higher purpose and to emerge from lockdown and power forward, why not have a coach and learn how to surf and ride the waves that are going to come and are going to continue to come for the next 10 years. As I've said, I've been very open in predicting the next 10 years will see the expansion and evolution of women. Nobody said that journey is going to be easy. But we can make it as fun as possible, and we can make it easier. And that's what I'm here to support you with, to help you to learn to surf and do it in only the way that you can do. So check in with your journal there. What would it look like if you learnt to surf and ride the waves and do it in the best way that you can do? How would that feel? I think it would feel pretty amazing. So those are the 4 solutions to treading water, and the encouragement that I take for you to, take that action and take it quickly. And as we've done today, we've looked at where you are treading water, what that looks like, what that is, the consequences, the inevitable consequences of continuing to tread water, which you just can't continue to do any longer than you are already, and the solutions that are available to you. Which are, I'm just going to sum up actually, is to take all of them. You're taking control and making a choice. You get out the water and you just stop, which again, I can still support you with that, but you don't need me to do that, but you might do once you've done it. Number 2 is to doggy paddle, invite some friends, have some more fun. Number 3 is to dive underneath the surface, look at what's going on underneath and how your past is dictating where it is that you're going and the inevitable shadow and inner child work. And number 4 is to learn to surf and ride the waves. And those things all, cross over. As I said, I can help you with each and every one of those. You may want to get someone else to help you, whatever feels good. It's been amazing to share those solutions with you. And if you want to explore more with me and how I can support you, I would tell you, you can find the 3 Keys course at lulumins.com, 3 Keys, and you can book a connection call with me at lulumins.com/connection. I can't wait to speak to you, and I can't wait to continue to share the She Rebel Radio Summer Series with you over the next 3 weeks. Next week, in part 2, what we're going to look at is empty destinations, the external fix and empty destinations. So have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you next Friday. Remember, She Rebel Friday. And if you have loved this episode, share it with another woman who you feel would massively benefit from the solutions to treading water.
Thanks for listening to She Rebel Radio, the podcast for high-performing women leaders who want to unlearn conventional rules, leave prestigious careers, and launch businesses of significance. She Rebel Radio is executive produced and hosted by women's advocate and coach, Lulu Mins. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. You can find Lulu Mins on Facebook and LinkedIn at Lulu Mins, and on Instagram at LuluMins_biz. Until next week, keep rebelling against the rules and designing success your way.